like as a fan base, like I think some people had some they were upset or they had some anger, yes, but I think as a fan base, we really kind of just were like moved on. We were already naming
Yeah.
coaches who we want. We were
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh, and we can get this, we're gonna do this, and it's like, man, poor Lane
Well,
had to probably see that. Like
well,
we were already planning his replacement.
the funny thing is, and this is something I'm still hearing, until Wednesday night, there was a verbal agreement in place. And what I think happened was they had him on the hook with a verbal agreement. And when they sent the actual offer, it didn't match what they were offering before. And so that made it an apples to apples comparison where things like family and all that became an even thing that people could look at. And if that happened, he wasn't leaving Ole Miss because he has so many advantages over there. The only way Auburn could have gotten him was to offer him the moon, and I think that's what he thought he was getting in the beginning, and that never really materialized. In fact, the specific thing that I heard was that they were going to offer him $12 million a year fully guaranteed, and when he got the actual contract offer, it had a buyout in it, which means it's not all guaranteed. And whenever that happened, it was over.
So that kind of a little bit, I had to say, was some part of my assumption that
Mm.
you know he he kind of had that going towards like the same thing you were saying, that 12 million, and then I also think maybe that was a verbal discussion, and then when Cohen came back, it wasn't all exactly, and when he said unless something significantly changes, I think people thought that meant the offer, and essentially I think he that they weren't coming to agreement, and that's what he was kind of referring to, I think.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
come on, guys.
verbally. Go ahead.
Come on, guys. Everybody knows that Hugh Freeze was Cohen's first choice, was Auburn's first choice.
Oh man, the funny thing is, I talked to Zach at the Locked On Auburn people, and he's like, "Hugh really won the press conference." Like, yeah, he'll win every single one of them, and
Yeah,
then
he's
he'll lose to
wonderful.
Memphis.
Yeah, he is amazing at talking. Like he's a very charismatic, very good like public speaker. You'll buy in. He's really great at that. That's why he's so good at recruiting. It's
Yeah,
just other things that are not there.
but the rumor is the hilarious thing, and I don't know if this is true anymore because I'm hearing conflicting reports. Is they said he could have the job and they hired him, but he was contractually obligated to give up his Twitter account. And if that's true, and you hired somebody to run $100 million company,
So
but don't trust him with the internet,
they said today at the press conference that was not true. They debunked
okay.
it, said it was a rumor. Yeah, they said however that got out, that's not true. That was not a stipulation that was discussed. So they debunked that today at the press conference.
Absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts.
Yeah, just what a crazy last few weeks. Like, I mean, as a whole, like this, I think our entire group was literally like right before Thanksgiving. We were talking about other coaches. We were thinking Lane. We were like, if this is it, we'll see you later. I mean, we were literally replacing the guy. Like, who are we gonna get? And like, man, whoever heard Luke Fickle was on the move had a really good insight there because lo and
Yeah,
behold, he was.
that dude was out on the first thing smoking, wasn't
Yeah. It just wasn't our way. Like some
he?
had thought it was definitely he was on the move, but it wasn't this way.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but yeah, like, what a just a crazy turn of events, like all from that to like just that right before the egg bowl, it just completely shifted. And it was like you just heard this grumblings of like he said he was staying and everyone's like, wait, okay. And like there was a lot of talk there. And I'll get you dude's perspective, just curious, but there was a lot of talk at that point where people are saying, "Oh, he's just trying to get the guys motivated," and I was like, that just seems
Yeah, that
no.
ship sailed.
Yeah, I was like, I don't feel like that's like illegitimate reasoning. Like that doesn't sound like something that would happen. Like to just say, "Hey, I'm gonna lie to you. I'm gonna get you guys like ready to go to win this game." And I was asking someone who was telling me that, and I was like, "Why does that make sense to you though? Because even if he's leaving, what does this win matter to him? This game doesn't
Yeah,
matter. He's leaving either way, so that doesn't make sense. Like he doesn't need this win. This theory does not add up."
yeah. And also anybody that tells you 100% they're 100% sure that something's going to happen in a coaching search, don't listen to them. Nobody needs to ever get up to 100%. because there's always a chance that it goes the other way at the last second.
Yeah, well, and it was good news with the NIL, and it looks
Mhm.
like, our recruits for the most part, I think we just lost out kind of on one guy, but I think he was between us and Clemson anyway. So I think we only saw really one that backed off there.
Yeah, yeah. I was supposed to interview John Garcia today, and I got our wires crossed somehow, and nothing really materialized. So later in the week, I'm going to talk to him. But the whole purpose of it is to find out where our recruiting stands, um, and what it actually looks like. So we'll see. I think that's Friday's show potentially. Um, Tomorrow's show will be all about the extension because Lane did this finally ended with him signing the extension. So that's cool. Um, and we have a pretty good basketball team. It, it's not it's not great. It's not Tennessee. It's not like old school Kentucky. But they're pretty good. Miles Burns is one of my favorite players. I mean, that's worn Ole Miss uniforms. And I've seen him in 5 games because he reminds me so much of Jason Smith.
Sorry, I had one of the alerts come in and it was really loud. So yeah, I watched the game on Sunday. I think I was driving back Sunday and I plugged it into my car and I was listening to it. And hey, like first loss, we lost to Oklahoma by what? Like 4 points. Like,
4 points.
hate that.
Yeah.
Like they played a heck of a game. And I saw some people were upset there, but I think it like, getting I think is Ruffin still out?
Yeah, he's still out.
Yeah, so I think once we get him back and like these, that's a difference maker right there in that 4 point range. So if we can keep that going, like when we get him back, um, we're that's gonna help us out. And so I'll be interested to see how they do. Looks like a very talented team.
Yeah. And if you guys are in Mississippi north of I-20, everybody be safe. Apparently, they're going through some things at the moment. Um, so be safe. I guess
I
that
guess,
includes you too,
uh,
you Tom, as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
lose
yeah, we've
Tom.
got some nasty
Great.
stuff coming later.
Yeah, I've seen 6 reports of tornadoes in Mississippi since about since in the last 2 hours, including one that's like dangerously close to my mom's house, but not quite there. So half dollar size hail.
Oh
Oh
wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
told somebody at work today. I said that'd be my luck. Finally get through chemo and radio. Freaking tornado take me out.
Oh no.
But yeah, I'm my mom and dad live right around I-20. Like one of them moved to almost Lauderdale County, and the other one lives in Warren County, so they're about as far away from each other as they can possibly be and be in the same state. Um, so if it's north of I-20, I think we're going to be okay. If it's south, and then it has a chance to drift over towards my dad, who lives outside Meridian. So
My man 12. We
pretty
going on. Hey,
hardcore there.
I want
What do you think of the basketball team, Tom?
I want Spain.
Oh,
I
I'm
want
pleasantly
Brazil. I
surprised.
want
I think, like
Germany.
like
I
Kara
want France.
mentioned,
Oh, they
when
got that boy
Ruffin comes back, I
Mbappe over
think
there in France. He ain't no joke.
we're gonna be
We
good.
gonna beat
I
the
think
Netherlands. We
I'll even say it.
going.
We could be a tournament team this year.
Yeah, I have a hard
Yeah,
time. I
Derek.
want to say that, but it is November.
Right.
Yeah. But last November, like we lost the first game of the tournament against Marquette, so it'd be like losing to Stanford and then like losing to Seton Hall or something in the third day. Um, there's we have a little bit better wins at the moment. We need to beat Memphis Saturday. And the rumor is that Ruffin might show up for that game. He might be there for that game. which I'm worried about, honestly, as well as they've been playing. What do you do with Amari Abram then? Whenever an alpha comes back like Deshaun Ruffin, I don't know because Abram has looked so good.
Yeah, Abrams awesome.
Yeah, it, it's just so good. And you look at what he's doing out there. The one thing he's doing is making shots, and there's not many people on our team that can do it. If anybody wants to know why Ole Miss lost to Oklahoma on Saturday, it wasn't anything systemic or anything like that. Ole Miss just lost a basketball game, but there was one 4 minute stretch where Abram, Caldwell, and Morrell all went to the bench at the same time, and Ole Miss couldn't score the ball. And Oklahoma went on a 10-0 run. That is the reason Ole Miss lost that game. So when Ruffin comes back, there's another scorer that gets inserted in the lineup. But I guess it was worth a shot to have a team set up like that, but it was rough. I mean, you put Abram and all them back in the game, and all of a sudden starts going the other way. And I don't know. I really like the basketball team. Miles Burns is one of my favorite Ole Miss players that has played at Ole Miss in a long time. He reminds me of Jason Smith. And Jason Smith, I really liked in the mid '90s. Like this is Rob Evans basketball era, and I mean he did a lot of just energies things. He was just a dirty player. Now Jason Smith couldn't shoot a free throw to save his life, but he did all the other stuff, and that's the reason he couldn't stay off. They couldn't keep him off the floor. All right.
I'll be honest. I have watched games. I have not dug enough into it yet. I got real sidetracked with Lane, and I did not dig into basketball yet. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I don't really blame you there.
I
Um,
got really sidetracked in and then of course I got sidetracked in the Auburn meltdown yesterday, and that was fun.
that was pretty great. That was pretty great. Um, but they're happy now. They got their extreme first choice, and the last 3 weeks absolutely did not happen. And nobody needs to ask them about it because they were on vacation. Let's see. Uh,
Hey, God bless the Grove Collective. How are you tonight? Awful.
Doing great, guys. How are y'all?
pretty
Actually, it feels
good.
great not to have any drama this week.
Yeah, seriously, back to normal, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to talk because, and I'm probably changing the topic, but I have
That's fine.
heard from several people, and I don't know if it's legit or not, that those numbers that the Grove Collective actually reported are not
Hmm.
accurate. I'm just wondering if you
What do
got,
you mean?
like, meaning we don't really have $10 million in our NIL fund.
Well, I go off of everything that they reported to Mississippi Today. I mean, it was reported. I mean, there's no reason for it to not be true. I know that people like to say that and talk about what's going on because they don't believe it was possible. But I mean, it was a steady campaign over about a week and a half. So I don't really have any reason to doubt it at this
Yeah, that's why I was so confused
point.
because it was an obvious gradual climb to that number, and I
Yeah,
just don't see any other way that it could have gone other than just a rocket ship up like it did.
yeah.
So,
With corporate sponsors that they're probably going to name over the next couple of weeks. So that dollar amount that we heard might not be to the 5,000 people that signed up. It could be on top of what they're doing, and that's the reason the amount jumped. That's just my thought.
all right. Only other topic I want to bring up is how quiet the Auburn fans were before Hugh Freeze on Ole Miss Twitter.
My good, everybody here, if they knew what my mentions looked like and my DMs looked like, for a week and a half, you guys would all just say a silent prayer for me. Because it was a disaster. If I miss questions over and over with you guys, I am sorry. I had no idea it was there. My mentions and DMs literally looked like the national debt calculator. That's the way it looked, and it. Yeah, I'm sorry, but and then it just all stopped, and it was wonderful.
Yeah, I think, man, like when it kind of that turn of the egg bowl, like I think they really were set though it was still happening, and then it just kind of kept going back towards us and staying, and man, it was a quick turnaround there for Auburn.
Well, if you remember our space last week, just last Tuesday, it was all just populated by Auburn fans. There was like 600 people in here, and like 450 of them were Auburn fans, all wanting to talk noise to us. It just wasn't good.
Yeah, they were all convinced Lane was coming.
Yeah, and they came here for the meltdown.
Yep.
The amazing thing, and really, really, what was just obvious to me, kind of like Saturday. I don't know if this is Friday night or Saturday night. I can't remember, but it was just the fact that how quiet it was and how like weird it was for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And then like Sunday morning rolls around and it was just like nothing had happened. And I think Sunday morning is when I really knew like Lane wasn't leaving for sure,
Mm-hmm.
because it was obvious that they were really getting their PR campaign together, because Lane had already told them no, and they were like, okay, now we got to go hire a PR campaign because we're about to hire Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, yeah. And have you guys seen what AL.com is doing right now? This is ridiculous. There's like 13 stories on their front page, sports page, that's slamming basically Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, Salty, I think it's his name, that used to be here in Mississippi.
Yeah, and it was like,
A
whoa,
hard time.
including the like sexual assault victim or rape victim at Liberty that Hugh slid into her DMs.
Yeah. That stuff's wild, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Regardless,
Have a lot of work.
regardless what you think about all of that, it's just a bad look.
yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that was an open lawsuit, and that woman was suing the school and that athletic director, and for him to jump in her DMs, that's just a, not only is it wrong in my opinion, but it's just a bad look.
So a bit of like this considered because like I've been trying to read on this because there's like stuff all over Twitter. So Ian McCall and Hugh Freeze were not implicated at all, and the athletic department was not implicated at all in the lawsuit. What happened was when Ian McCall, who was the former Baylor AD, when Baylor had their situation, um, when they had he was the AD there, and when he
Yeah.
came to Liberty, they lashed out, say like, "Look at what this school's already hiding, and now you're going to hire this guy and bring this guy in." So it was more of a lashing out at the school and everything, and like, so they're not actually implicated in the actual lawsuit, but there is now stemmed from their lawsuit a federal lawsuit that is spun from the Department of Education that is investigating Liberty.
Hey,
It's
wait
still
till
it's
they
still such
hire
a
our
bad look.
trials.
They also had that thing like was it Football Focus or something like that talking about candidates to replace Freeze, and they put Art Briles' picture up there. It's like, come
Oh.
on, guys, what are y'all doing?
But no, you're right. It definitely is a bad look either
Yeah,
way. It's just
yeah,
there's so much information out there that's like people are just throwing stuff out there and they're like, this is true. And it's like, well, no, because the lawsuit started before, like, Ian McGaughan, Hugh Freeze actually were employed with Liberty. It just happened. It was just more step forward throughout the years.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you just if the person wants to talk, let her talk. You don't put your name anywhere in this.
Also, but like my problem with it all is that Hugh Freeze was already in hot water with his past antics and his past weirdness, and so it just show to me it just shows that. And I saw this, by the way, I saw this all when it happened in July,
Mm-hmm.
with this DM. Um, but it just showed me that he hasn't changed like at all.
Oh, not
So
even a little bit.
all the talk about how we should forget, people should forgive and let him have a second chance. Well, he just hasn't showed that he's changed.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those things. And just do y'all want to hear my favorite joke right now about Hugh Freeze?
Sure.
Yeah, I did have one online. It was like, hey, Hugh Freeze from Auburn is willing to give half of his salary to charity.
Yeah. I
And if
saw
she's not working, she'll give it to Destiny.
that.
And it was like, oh, yes, that's a fantastic joke. That's right up there with my Joe Milton can throw the ball 40 yards if you need him to throw it 40 yards, and he can throw it 40 yards if you need him to throw it 20 yards.
Yeah.
Well, the whole Hugh Freeze thing, like, there was so much stuff going on here, and like I've had Auburn people like that I know, and we're all in like different like group chats or whatever, and they're asking questions, and like it's just this information, and I'm like, no, that was actually not part of our sanctions. We didn't have that. Like we did have other things, a lot of them, but that was not one of them. Like just some of the stuff that's like just stemming out of all this with Hugh and dredging back up, like it's a lot of stuff that's it's out there, and I think, as Ole Miss, like, Hugh made that comment today at his presser, but my thought is I'm okay with us distancing ourselves from Hugh because
Mm-hmm.
why not? Like, thank you. We're like moved on. We're out here. Like, why not? Like, if he wants to distance, fine. Like, well, let's distance ourselves there. Like, thank you, sir. Like, we're moving to a new area. So, like, I don't see like a lot of people are upset about that, but I'm like, I'm good with it. I'm good with distancing ourselves from you. Like, there is some stuff going there, and it's not going to be good for a bit. Like, that's going to be a very hard situation.
Yeah, and what I guess Auburn doesn't realize is they just, as much as everybody knows about Hugh Freeze, what school do you think knows the most? And I mean, we're completely okay with Hugh Freeze because we got the receipts. And by the way, the biggest rivalry that Hugh Freeze is going to have in the SEC is probably Mississippi State, if we're going to be honest, because there's probably nobody in the world that he wants to beat more than the Bulldogs.
Yeah, they cost him 17 million
Yeah,
bucks.
yeah. Did you see him? Steve Robertson on Twitter is like crawfishing backwards, like, no, 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 he didn't do this.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm like, oh, come on, Steve, come on. You cost the man $17 million. Don't try and backtrack.
Right.
Oh Lord, this is all. See the problem, and I think this is what's happening to me right now is that it's just bringing up all these bad memories
Mm.
for me. So it's like I have PTSD, and
Right.
so like bringing up all this stuff that happened and how like crazy everything was and how we made national news and he just embarrassed us in front of everybody. That's that's probably more of what's happening to me right now, and I haven't accepted it yet.
No, I think
Yeah.
you're right, and I think a part of that is true for us. Like, there's been a lot dredged up. Like, we had to go back to the pine box feeling. Now we got to go through Hugh Freeze again. Like, I think it's for us. Like, I don't. I think we're good to like say, okay, we're gonna distance ourselves. Not a problem anymore. Here you go. Here you go.
Yeah.
Like, not a
Let's just go
problem.
ahead. Let's go ahead and get the Ghost of Christmas Future, and let's get this over with. Because that's what it feels like. We're going through like Ebenezer Scrooge and doing a Christmas Carol. That's what it feels like. Ghost of coaches past.
But also, like, how sad of a human being do you have to be? You're not talking about Hugh Freeze right now. How sad of a human being do you have to hate another school so much that you will literally dial a bunch of numbers from a government phone until you find something that, hey, this is weird. Moral of the story is Steve Robertson is a freaking joke. Can't believe people take him seriously. He's on the radio here in Jackson, Mississippi, all the time with that bow bound stupid ass. I can't stand these people.
Well, you're around Jackson. Where are you?
Flowood.
Well, I went to middle school with went to high school in Michigan.
Nice, yeah. Well, I have to listen to Bow Bound's stupid self every morning.
Yeah.
And he has Steve Robertson on constantly. And that guy has no credibility in my eyes. He's just a moron. So, I mean, you just have to be so petty to do what he did. And all this is coming back to me now, and it's just annoying.
I can remember when Bo Brown got on his show and said that DK Metcalf wasn't even in the top 10 in the state of Mississippi his senior year.
I remember that.
That's when it was a DK versus AJ conversation.
And we
talked about both of them going to the same place. Just a Starkville Oxford thing. No, DK. No. Oh, by the way, you guys would enjoy this. One of the things with I think Scott Satterfield from South Carolina going to Nebraska, they're looking for an offensive coordinator. And the South Carolina person called me and said, "Hey, what does you and your fan base think of Phil Longo?" And I was like, "Sit down, brother. We're going to talk."
Yeah, I like Collie Longo.
Yeah, I have that conversation all the time with people. I'm like, it's just not what you think. It's not going to be what you think.
You should have told him to look up Dawson Knox's college record, his stats.
Yeah, I just said, hey, Ole Miss went 6-6 and had DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, and Dawson Knox. That's all you need to know. Oh,
prison.
Well, the funny thing is, and everybody said, okay, well, nothing about Ole Miss. Tell me what I need to know about Phil Longo. And I was like, he's lost to Georgia Tech twice at North Carolina, which is a true story. I think they've lost to him twice in Chapel Hill. They have a hard time with the Yellow Jackets, that team that we 42-0.
Do we think that Georgia Tech was told no by Tulane's coach, and that's why they hired their interim?
I think that there's a chance that they let the cat out of the bag, and there was a championship game this weekend and pissed him off, and got the no. Now I like Brent Key. I think he completely turned around that program this year, but I think the Willie Fritz stuff was real, and just until you have people that jump the gun.
Yeah, I like the hire. I just was hearing all the rumors and stuff, and was wondering what people thought.
Willie Fritz would have done well there, although he's in his mid-60s.
So, can we just talk about the fact that, like, these leaks, I mean, we're seeing them everywhere, and it's just like
this program's not for everybody.
Leaks are just coming in like
this program's not
lane and with the thing, and like just all these crazy leaks that are happening out of nowhere. They're like, oh no, we keep these irons shut. And I'm like, I don't think you do. Like, someone's talking. Like,
yeah, good grief. The Auburn leaks this past week was like a hairdryer in her face for 3 weeks. Everybody was talking. I mean, Wisconsin did it right. Nobody knew about Luke Fickell until he signed the document.
That's some loyalty right there. We got to figure out
Yeah.
how to do that.
Yeah, because nobody knew anything was going on until it was done. And it's like I don't know which one was louder, Nick Saban to Texas or Lane Kiffin to Auburn. Both of those were the two loudest coaching searches I've ever seen, and neither one of them crossed the finish line.
All right,
But
let's. I want to. So I don't know if you guys have already talked about the bowl, but which bowl are we going to?
um, well, I've heard everywhere below the Citrus, so starting with the ReliaQuest down to the Liberty, with the exception of the Birmingham. So I know that probably doesn't help you, but you're looking at maybe the Liberty because of proximity to Oxford, the Music City because of proximity, all the way to Duke's Mayo or ReliaQuest. Now I think that Lane staying and everything like switching over kind of gives them a little bit of an advantage over the teams in that tier. But I mean, honestly, South Carolina did, over with the wins that they have deserve to go to Tampa. Mississippi State, because they won the Egg Bowl, probably deserves to go to the Gator. Uh, yeah,
So you think? I think it's probably going to be Nashville. If it's not Tampa, it's Nashville. I don't see us going to Liberty Bowl.
well, if anybody knows Network Reb on the Ole Miss Spirit or whatever, whatever site he's on now. I think he has said Tampa, and he's the bowl guru for whatever reason. I don't know what he does, but he has something to do with the bowls. But he thinks it's Tampa.
Well, let me tell you something. Lane Kiffin is a huge draw,
Mm.
and nothing would piss off the Mississippi State fans more if we end up in Tampa and they end up in Jacksonville.
Yeah, and remember, Tampa is absolutely the Kiffin name is beloved, and that's because of Monty. I
Yep.
mean, that's the reason we went down there in 2000 is completely because of the Kiffin name. So I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa's like, yeah, we want them again. Tell them to come on down, and that'd be a pretty good game. That'd be like Illinois. That'd be good.
Well, and we fill up a stadium. I mean, we really do. We travel well. I can remember a few years back, Mississippi to the Gator Bowl, and their tickets were selling for $3 a piece, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, because there was no interest. There was no, they hardly had anybody show up for the game. So,
Well, I remember, gosh, growing up, I remember being at the Liberty Bowl. I remember I was at the Independence Bowl in '99. I remember being at all the when we were at the last Cotton Bowl in the Cotton Bowl, and then we went to Jerry World,
mm,
like the first year. So I remember all those, like, and we were pretty stacked there. There was a lot of people there. Like we've always done a pretty good job when it comes to like traveling and getting to the bowl games.
that's one of the reasons I think if they can help it and make it happen, they won't do Memphis. I think Memphis is pretty much going to be off the table because we do travel so well, and they want us to go to a bowl city somewhere.
We really don't want to go to Memphis.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean that at best is a day trip, and Memphis makes no money off of us. The one of the biggest fallacies out there is that the Liberty Bowl wants Ole Miss, and Memphis does not want Ole Miss.
No, Memphis hates Ole Miss.
Yeah, the Liberty Bowl might want it for just tickets, but they don't necessarily want Ole Miss. Nashville maybe because people will show up a little bit, but I think someplace like the Duke's Mayo Bowl, I mean, that could be an interesting fit for Ole Miss because we've never been.
Where is that one?
Charlotte. Yeah, they play where the Panthers play.
And then the Music City is in the Titan Stadium, right?
Yes.
I did see an interesting prediction about the Liberty Bowl, though, that would be kind of neat. It had Ole Miss versus Oklahoma.
Yeah, I saw that one.
It's like, man, we're just gonna spend 2022 with Oklahoma, aren't we?
I'm tired of Oklahoma. I'm sick of them.
Except for baseball, of course. But
Right, but we play
hey,
too much in every sport.
well, I mean, we might as well get used to it because starting in 2025, it's going to be an every other year occurrence.
Speaking of that, did you see who we are rumored to be playing opening the season in 2025?
USC.
Is that
Yep.
this? Yep.
USC Trojans
That's an interesting draw.
in LA.
I'm going. I'm going
I
to
would go to
that.
that.
And I'm not talking lower Alabama.
Yeah. Hey, and that's a Big Ten team.
Yeah. Yeah.
By that point, they'll be a Big Ten team.
The B1G, baby.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, hopefully by next week's space, I guess by next week's space, we will know our bowl destination. And we can determine it. And if it's the Reliant Quest, I'm planning on going. Um, and I'll make them turn down media credentials the whole 9 yards. If they turn me down, I will be bitching about it over and over again. So I hope they don't turn me down. So anyway, let's wrap this up. We're after 30 minutes. God bless. Thank you, man. Tom, thank you. Kara, thank you very much. And everybody, thank you for stopping by and listening to this. We'll put it up on the YouTube channel in case you missed it and catch a replay of everything that's gone on. For Kara and Tom, I'm Stephen Willis, and thank you very much for stopping by. And we'll see you next week. Later.
Howdy.
Howdy, toddy.